I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Kaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Omni viewer, and once again SRS Cinema has unleashed an obscure kaiju movie into the West. It has been known by many names throughout the years. In the original Korean it was called Bicheongoisu, but in the West it translated into The Flying Monster. Now that it has an official release, it also has a new official title, War of the God Monsters.
If people know this movie for anything, it's the way it was made. Basically, the original production company got the rights to footage from various Ultraman series, trimmed away everything except the kaiju scenes, and filmed new human segments to generate a different story. The result is a tale in which a reporter tracks down an eccentric scientist who believes that environmental destruction is causing dinosaurs to come back from the dead and that a cataclysm is imminent. Naturally, with so much stock footage to work with, the so-called mad scientist will be vindicated by the end.
I'm guessing lots of kaiju fans will be comparing this one to Godzilla's Revenge and Super Monster Gamera.
And not without reason, Snazzy, but I'm not sure that comparison would be the most appropriate.
Remember, we're talking about a movie where stock footage is not just utilized, but totally recontextualized. It has Ultramonsters in it, but they are not Ultramonsters in the confines of this story.
Here, all of the monsters are meant to be dinosaurs.
Even this one that looks like somebody grafted a vampire bat's head onto a pair of starfish?
Yes, strange as it sounds, even that one. Though to be fair, most of the kaiju they feature can at least pass for dinosaurs, even if they still look weird by that standard.
Anyway, with that idea of recontextualization in mind, I'd say that War of the God Monsters is to Kaiju Eiga what Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is to film noir. Like that film, it attempts to make something new using elements acquired from older sources. Then again, even that comparison only goes so far, since Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid is a comedy, whereas War of the God Monsters is played for drama.
Now, I will give the film its due credit for what it does well. For starters, the performances are pretty good.
The actors don't exactly have that much to work with, all things considered, and some of the concepts they're asked to convey are pretty ridiculous, but they still do their best. The girl who plays the daughter is unfortunately the weak link, but I guess I can't be too hard on her because she was a kid at the time, and I'm sure she was at least trying.
Also, despite its microscopic budget, War of the God Monsters still manages to generate a sense of foreboding.
The first 2/3 of the film are spent building up to disaster, and we watch as the only man who sees it coming sinks into despair not just from being dismissed as crazy, but at the inevitability of it all.
Then the final third kicks things into high gear, and it never relents.
Basically, the finale is a non-stop kaiju assault in which monsters are springing up like weeds, and despite a military response, all most of mankind can do is watch in terror as the apocalypse unfolds before their eyes.
It treats this event with a true sense of horror, and the fact that that horror is conveyed despite the potential for camp is somewhat miraculous. Now, with all of that said, I just can't call War of the God Monsters good.
The plot may have atmosphere, but it's also kind of silly and really bare bones compared to other kaiju movies.
In terms of the human side of things, there's a lot going on that doesn't really pay off in a satisfying manner.
For example, there's meant to be a romance that forms between the reporter and the scientist, but it doesn't feel even a bit natural. They just wind up together at the end because movie law dictates that they must, even though they have no chemistry to speak of. The few other humans who turn up just come and go without leaving much impact, so I see no reason to dwell too long on them.
What about the kaiju part? Does the fact that it's all stock footage have an effect?
Oh, Hitpost certainly does, my friend.
First of all, there's a noticeable difference in video quality between the original Korean segments and the recycled kaiju segments, but that's to be expected.
The bigger issue stems from how the movie uses footage from the Ultraman series without ever once using footage of an Ultraman.
But Ultraman always kills the monsters, doesn't he?
He most certainly does, Snazzy.
So how do they resolve the conflict without him there?
That's a very good question.
And the answer is...
Heck if I know.
Remember how I said the kaiju assault at the end is unrelenting? Well, that's only up until the very end where it finally does relent, but only because they ran out of footage. Sure, we see the scientists destroy a single egg in hopes that it will make a difference, but that happens well before the rampage.
If that has anything to do with why the dinosaurs eventually leave, we're never informed as to how that works. Whether it means the dinosaurs have a short lifespan and need to keep recycling through the egg, or if it's actually magic and the egg is the source of their power, or whatever.
There's no explanation, no huge climax, no nothing. We just get a line that says the dinosaurs all went away and the danger is over for now.
This is the cinematic equivalent of driving a car at 700 miles an hour straight into a rock wall. I suppose if they were determined to use stock footage, it was unavoidable, but the result is still a rushed, unsatisfying ending. Finally, there's one major hurdle facing this movie which it can never overcome.
The main draw here is the inclusion of Ultra Kaiju as the main antagonists.
The thing is, though, that anyone who wants to see the Ultra monsters doing their thing is probably going to watch Ultraman instead.
There's just no reason to sit through an 85-minute long movie to get your Ultra fix when proper Ultra episodes are 25 minutes each and actually wrap up their plots by the end. Ultraman delivers better quality in a shorter space of time.
So the new stuff isn't worth it?
No offense to the people who made the movie, but no, not really.
Since I brought up Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid earlier, let me use that as a counterexample. That movie uses stock footage as well, this time from classic film noir.
While it is true that you could just watch the original films, and you should, they're classics for a reason, it's the new material that carries Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
That movie's runtime is used to tell an original story, and while it is a comical one, it can mostly function on its own even without the stock footage. In War of the God Monsters, the original content exists solely to build up the stock footage, and thus is beholden to it. Since the new footage is just used to deliver the kaiju content, it lacks any meaningful intrigue of its own. These scenes exist solely to reframe the stock footage and serve no other purpose.
To put it in allegorical terms, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid uses stock footage like spices at a gourmet restaurant, whereas War of the God Monsters uses original footage like wrappers at a fast food joint.
What's the verdict then?
The verdict is that War of the God Monsters is a novelty.
The main draw of it is the presence of kaiju from the Ultra series, and if we were still living in a time when Ultra was not widely distributed in the West, it might have been worth checking out.
However, recent distribution deals have made the entirety of the Ultra series accessible to anyone who wants to see it across multiple platforms. Knowing how accessible the Ultra series now is, what purpose does this movie even serve?
War of the God Monsters feels like it arrived too late to the costume ball, and it doesn't even have an original costume. The only real significance it holds is as a historical piece, and maybe it can serve as a contrast to Pulgasari, which came out around the same time.
For entertainment purposes, though, just watch the show it took footage from. You won't be missing much. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. I gotta admit though, I do like this DVD cover art. I would own a poster of this if they ever made one.
Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.